Welcome to a preview call of Rawpalooza 2012 Raw Food World Summit. And now, here's your host, Steve Prussack.
Hi, welcome to the call. This is Steve Prussack, host of Rawpalooza 2012 Raw Food World Summit. We've assembled a panel of world-class raw food and conscious living chefs, leaders, and experts with a topic, Raw Food 2012 and beyond, for this sneak preview special. We're going to introduce our panelists in just a minute here. I hope you enjoy the session. Join us for the complete Rawpalooza Raw Food World Summit starting this Monday, January 23rd at 8:30 a.m. You won't want to miss a minute. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to introduce our special guests right now, one by one, beginning with Jenny Ross. Jenny Ross is the owner and executive chef of the Living Foods restaurant 118 Degrees in Costa Mesa, California. She's been a pioneering spirit of the raw food movement since 2000, beginning with her first Los Angeles cafe. Her product line is available in health food stores throughout the country, and she's the author of 2 books, including Raw Basics and The Art of Living Food. Jenny Ross, welcome to Rawpalooza.
Hi, Steve. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And let's go to our next panelist, Chef B Live, Brian James Lucas, a.k.a. Chef B Live. He was executive chef and co-owner of Organica, the Living Cuisine, which was located in San Francisco in 89 to 99. He was voted #1 Best Gourmet Raw Chef Award of 2010 Best of Raw contest, and his raw food creations have been featured for celebrities to sample at the Oscar Awards this year and last year. Let's welcome right now to Rawpalooza, Chef B Live.
Hey, what's up? How's it going, Steve and everybody else?
Chef B Live, thanks for being here. Our next panelist is Dan McDonald. Dan the Man McDonald has spent more than a decade eating a living raw diet and teaching others to do the same. His Life Regenerator YouTube channel has more than 52,000 subscribers and has received more than 11 million views. Recently, the raw food community awarded Dan with 4 Best of Raw awards. Well, let's welcome to the call Dan the Man McDonald.
Thank you,
Hey,
Steve.
Dan. Thanks for being here.
Everybody, nice to meet you all.
And let's get to our next panelist here, Jackie and Gideon Graff. Jackie is a registered nurse who has been teaching raw food preparation and food science for more than a decade. She's an instructor for Hallelujah Acres Culinary Academy and the Hippocrates Health Institute. Jackie's the author of 23 themed raw food recipe books and has produced 2 instructional raw food DVDs. Gideon Graff has also taught raw food preparation for almost a decade. His roles include raw food chef, health coach, and director of Sprout Food, the Graff's consulting and raw food catering and distribution business. Let's welcome to Rawpalooza, Jackie and Gideon Graff.
Thanks, Stephen.
Hi, Stephen. Hi, everybody.
Thank you, Jackie and Gideon. And our next panelist is Brian O. Raw chef Brian O. has been enjoying and promoting the raw organic lifestyle for more than 12 years with raw organic recipe books, DVDs, and media appearances worldwide. His latest book, Raw Star Recipes, just won the #1 Best Vegetarian Cookbook in the USA Award 2012 by Gourmand World Cookbook Awards. Congratulations and welcome to Rawpalooza, Brian O.
Thank you, Stephen. I'm ready to rock 2012 Rawpalooza.
Thanks for being here. And our last but certainly not least panelist is Tina Pruitt. She's the Green Juice Coach, a healthy living expert, living foods advocate, speaker, author, entrepreneur, and 3-time breast cancer survivor and thriver. She's the author of Juice Yourself Healthy and the creator of the Juicing Experience, a complete online members-only course. Everyone, welcome to Rawpalooza, Tina Pruitt.
Thank you. Hey, everybody.
Great, everyone. Thank you all for being here. We're going to get right into this because I know our time is limited. We can't go on all night because we certainly would want to. But we're going to start with Jenny Ross with the first question right now, and we'll go down the line. So, Jenny, share some of the best ideas you've learned through your years following a raw food diet. And, you can just let us know what you think of that.
Well, I think at first, when I first discovered raw foods, it was really exciting because it was brand new. and for me, and it was an experience that almost like learning to ride a bike or something like that, where you really just become impassioned with what this new thing is and what it represents for you. And probably like so many others joining us on the panel today, my health was so greatly impacted for the positive when I discovered living foods. I wanted to share that with everybody. I mean, that was such an important thing for me. It became my driving purpose in life. And so one of the things that I've learned in the last, decade plus doing this lifestyle and also working with people from all different backgrounds is when you really have that focus on health and vitality, when it all comes back to that, you can call it whatever you want, raw foods, living foods, alkaline eating, juice feasting. You can create all these fun different terms for it, but the essence of it is this is the core of health. And so if you're always going back to that core, you're going to find great results year after year, no matter how your diet may ebb and flow through that process, because it is a journey. So I just like to encourage people, this is a journey, and you have to pay attention to that and see what that represents for you.
Great, thank you. How about you, Chef Belive? You have to add to that?
I'm just going to riff off of that because, the 20 years on the path at this point, it's really actually my whole life, in the health and awareness lifestyle, being born into it and then just experimenting other ways. It just really is about listening to your inner voice, really finding what works for you, because what I've realized and found along the way after trying so many different ways of eating, and specifically in the raw living, lifestyle, is that nothing works 100% for anyone. It's all about really finding what works for you as an individual. And so that's why I always really express to people, don't torture yourself. Listen. Really, the most important part is our mindset and what our thoughts are and how we program those or reprogram them. So, I just completely wholeheartedly agree with Jenny, and, I'll just keep it short and simple at that.
Great. And just repeating the question, just for anyone tuning in late, our panelists are sharing some of the best ideas they've learned through their years following a raw food diet. We're going to go to Dan McDonald now. How about you, Dan?
The simpler, the better. And, learning how to master your senses on every level. I mean, the food is just one of the more tangible ways that process begins in one's life. And then it begins to branch out into all the areas of life. And then you can, hopefully, what raw food has done for me personally has sparked an interest in complete and total peace. And so, in peace with the body in this society has proven to be quite challenging for myself as well as just about every other human being that I run across. But hopefully, as I continue on this path of simplicity with raw foods, fasting and meditation and faith, I will eventually find that peace and hopefully be able to maybe be a candle to light some other candles so that we can sort of end the war. That's kind of what happened. This is where I've ended up. The raw food, I thought, I'm going to be prettier and I'm going to have more energy, when I read the Gospel of Peace. But now it's really snowballed into this gigantic, quest for peace. So I think raw food is just one spoke on the wheel of a divine life.
Great points. Thank you. We're going to go over to Gideon and Jackie now. Same question.
Steve, when we first got into this about 16 years ago, we ate very simple salads, a little fruit, a few nuts. And I went into what I call raw food depression because it really impacted our social life. We used to have people over all the time. I couldn't have people over anymore. And it really isolated us until I figured out how to make some gourmet food. And this really changed because what happens is people just don't think that they can eat salads and fruit and nuts the rest of their life. But when you show them that you can have a pie or some other really good recipe, that really attracts them. Now, so we started out simple and went to some gourmet recipes, but now we eat simple most of the time. But I think you should always have in your in your little box of tricks. Always have some good recipes that you could entertain with, take to functions. And to me, that because we're all about educating people. We don't want to just be healthy. We want everybody around us to be healthy. And when they see that they can eat this food and be healthy and still have delicious food, I really think it's a more doable idea.
And I think that the best thing that I have learned is that you should not be obsessed about food. That is, I used to get up in the morning and the first thing on my mind was what's for breakfast, what's for lunch, what's for dinner. And now I go buy organic fruits and vegetables and I only think about eating when I get hungry. And then we go look at what we have and we eat it and we're happy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And now we're going over to Brian with some of the best ideas you've learned through your years following a raw food diet. Brian?
Okay. Well, I started off in a different way than most people. I started off as a vegetarian at age 12, and then I turned vegan at age 27, and then I went raw organic vegan at age 29, and I came from a chef background. So for me, I got into it through yoga, so it became my spiritual healing path. And I discovered that as a chef, it's like, wow, it's so much easier, it's faster, I save a lot of time, the new flavors, a whole new gourmet world opened up for me. And then I quickly discovered that it's so healing and it solves everything, and it just aligned with all the beliefs I had about being spiritual, eco, and, organic and all of that and healing. And so I decided to try to make it mainstream and bring it to the masses and to people so everyone can enjoy it. We all love it and enjoy it so much that I want everyone to do that and to experience the benefits also. So some of the secrets and good ways to enjoy it is find good recipes, experience raw chefs, get good equipment, buy or grow your own food at farmers markets or grow it yourself. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of amazing tips and advice from everybody today, so I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you, Brian. How about you, Tina?
So my journey began as a result of my breast cancer, my original breast cancer diagnosis, and it's brought me a long way. I went from very staunch, 100% raw foodist to actually exactly what Jackie had touched on. You remove yourself from that social element, so you do have to bend a little bit and go into some different areas that still encompass a vegan lifestyle and mostly raw. But what I like to communicate is a raw KISS method. So we all know that KISS is that keep it simple, stupid, or keep it simple, silly. But what I use the KISS for is first, is keep what you already do and like, and just make some ingredient or preparation modifications. So if you like wraps or appetizers or soups or salads, you can still have those in a raw vegan manner by simply just changing some of your ingredients or your prep. I would be invest in a few pieces of equipment. My favorites: food processor, blender, juicer, and a good knife, which I'm sure a lot of people will agree to. A knife is like crucial. The setup, do a kitchen clean out and get your kitchen set up for success. Have a juicing station. Have a designated area in the fridge if the rest of your family isn't on board. A designated cabinet for your ingredients. And then the last S is support. If you don't have it with your immediate family and friends, you need to get some new ones. No, I'm kidding. You don't need to get new ones, but you do need to get some support. And I found that to be so instrumental in my journey. Groups, online groups and forums, meetup.com is an excellent resource. And if you don't have any in your area, you can certainly start your own. So those four things to me are some tips that, had I been told that at the beginning of my raw food journey, it would have been so much easier rather than stumbling along on my own.
Oh, thank you. Wow, what a powerful panelist we have here. All right, we're going to move right to the next one here. And the question is, what are some tips for easy raw food prep at home? And we'll start with Jenny Ross for that.
Well, I think the biggest thing at home for me has been having an abundance of fresh foods around. That is where it's always started from. And I'm a mom, Steve, so it's like I've got, my son and my husband and myself, and we all have different things that we know and love. So we shop once a week, and we make food at home together once a week, wraps and sort of the pantry staples that are nice to have around. And then I always make sure that I keep those things out. I came from a house where everything was always put away in a cupboard all the time. And it wasn't exciting. It didn't really bring passion to the food experience. But it also, out of sight, out of mind. So it's a lot like Tina said, if you want to be successful in setting up your raw kitchen from a day-to-day standpoint, you have to really infuse it into your life, but not in a way that's overwhelming, So for me, just by having those 2 days out of the week where I spend 2 hours each day, one is shopping and the other is making food with my family, I have that as a base. And then with raw food, it's so simple to take something delicious like a tahini cheese that we've made together and put it on something simple like a wrap, add whatever fresh vegetables we have, and then make that a meal. It's actually so much easier than preparing cooked foods, but it takes some time to make that transition. So I always recommend to folks in transition, commit to those first, 2 sets, maybe 2 hours each time or one day for 4 hours to do the setup, and then the rest of your week can follow from there.
Great. And how about you, Chef B Live?
Well, interestingly enough, it's quite a challenge to answer these questions when everyone already has almost the exact answer that you give. But so I totally riffing off of the last answers from the last question, just having good equipment, having a knife, that's very important, as she stated, and keeping it simple in the kitchen. I mean, making a raw soup, making a sauce that can go over wild rice or noodles, and making a wrap by using nori wraps or collard greens, or even as simple as a leaf of lettuce. It's so easy. Having the essential spices and herbs so you can keep it just tasting really good. And I believe personally, and this is my humble opinion, that you have to find some good recipes. If you don't have a palate and you're really trying to mock those flavors that you're used to, and you really want to hit on those flavor profiles, find books that actually attract you, that actually taste good, because and that might even be a little bit of a challenge, because what I found out there is that a large percentage of them don't even have good recipes in them. So find some that resonate with you. There are some out there that resonate with each person. Find some, make simple recipes. If you want to throw in some more complex ones once or twice a week, just so you're getting, a bigger, more a wide array of different things, and you're really hitting on those comfort foods, then by all means do that as well. But it's really actually quite simple, and making raw is from my experience, the easiest way, and you can make it taste really good.
Thanks. How about you, Dan? Some tips for eating easy raw food prep at home.
Okay, well, it's probably good to know that, the context in which I generally approach raw foods at this time is within the modality of healing. So about 95% of the people that I deal with are dealing with some kind of, diabetes, cancer, obesity. So I'm always trying to help people to sort of move out of the more gourmet stuff and into the more simple detoxifying and regenerating type foods. So what I do is just let everybody, I tell everybody to make sure you've got plenty of fresh, juicy fruit to move the lymphatic system. And whatever's in season is best, because those are the higher vibrational electrical foods which are going to enhance the nervous system. And then you want to eat very simply 1 to 3 different types of fruit so that you can begin to get that lymphatic system to flow. And then I bring in the herbal juices, the kale, cilantro, the dandelions, the arugula, can begin to alkalinize the system. So my mind is always on raw food healing context. So, make sure when you're on a detox cleanse that you've got, plenty of in-season fruit laying around on the counters, lots of different options. And then when you're on the juicing trip, make sure that you've got, 2 to 3 jars of juice with plastic lids at all times, and then you can store those green juices for up to, probably 72 hours is the max. I like to drink mine right away, but people have different schedules, so they need to, understand that they can preserve those juices with lemon or orange juice, and then they'll last a few days in the fridge. So I'm going to continue probably to go down this road, since I feel that the population, at least from where I sit, I'm always getting tons and tons of emails about diseases and whatnot. So to cleanse and alkalize with the fruits and to heal with the herbs is probably going to be my message for quite some time to come.
Great information. Jackie and Gideon, what are some tips for easy raw food prep at home?
Well, I believe in what he's saying is for the cleansing, but I've worked with people that have cancer, and, they do that for a long while, and they are able to resolve a lot of issues, but then they need some recipes because they get bored, and what boredom leads people back to the foods they used to eat that gave them the cancer and all the diseases they have. So I think having some gourmet recipes that you guide people with is one tip. People have to have celebration foods, maybe a little recipe on the weekend would be good. And one tip that I use that I really don't think anybody else uses this, but if you are making recipes, it really helps. The soaking of nuts and seeds is always an issue. So you get ready to make a recipe that somebody has, and you have to soak your nuts, and you don't have any soak, so you move on. And after you go through about 10 recipes that say soak your nuts and seeds, what I found that I had them sitting in the refrigerator, and they would go bad. And so what I discovered was, in nature, nuts get wet. It rains on them. They freeze. And they still will grow things. So what I do is I bring all my nuts and seeds home, and I soak all of them, and I put the ones that I want to keep wet for making pâtés and milks and that sort of thing. I put them in the freezer, and then the ones that I want to keep dry, I put them in the dehydrator. That way I'm ready for anything. And that's really has given people some good tips how to deal with the nuts and seeds.
And my tip that I like to share is flavor your food with as many fresh herbs as you can. Oregano, rosemary, mint, sage, basil, parsley. All of these things will give you great flavor to the food, and most importantly, they are packed with antioxidants. So use a lot of those.
Great. How about you, Brian O? You've got some tips for easy raw food prep at home?
Yes, most definitely. So my special secret ingredients is love and fun. Put the love in the food. Have fun with it. That's the first starting point. Next, you want to get good recipes. Now, of course, you could get recipes online for free. You could get them in recipe books. But the danger of that is some of the recipes are what I call random raw. You want to go with recipes that are really from experienced people that are based on actual scientific, medical, and spiritual research. Because a lot of people, they're posting raw recipes, and they look and taste great, but are they alkalizing? Are they neutral in pH? Do they have high mycotoxins? Are they high in fat? Are they high in sugar? A lot of them are, so you have to really be careful. So what I did was I based all of my recipes on Gabriel Cousin's research. Now, he's a 100% raw doctor that treats people for free and successfully, thousands of patients. And so he did research to show you which raw foods and ingredients to use, which ones to avoid, according to your body type, your age, your caloric needs. He gets really deep. So I try to do as much research as I can to make sure all my recipes are the most balanced, optimal, alkalizing, oxygenating, rejuvenating. And I do like to eat simple, but I also like gourmet foods too. So I know a lot of raw foodists where they'll start off their mornings with juices and smoothies, then they'll go into a salad, and then at night they go full-on gourmet. And we love to eat simple, but we also have cravings for our favorite foods. So with raw food, you could have it all, and you could have it both. So I believe if you have the correct recipes that were designed a certain way, you can have the healing and the gourmet. They don't have to be exclusive or different. But to mix it up with simple, salad now and then, something really gourmet, a decadent dessert, and you're rocking it, you feel good. You want to be satisfied and happy. You don't want it to be a whole medicinal trip or it's just all medicine or all gourmet. You want to be in the middle, enjoy both. The thing is, food is meant for enjoyment. It just happens to be raw and organic. So in this case, you can find really good recipes, have a good time, have fun, enjoy yourself, and still heal and still save the world and your health, your community. My motto for 2012 is save everything, and with raw recipes and food, you really can. And also have a lot of good raw friends. Join raw communities and potlucks. I was attracted to the raw community about 12 years ago because we had underground raw potlucks and dinners, and it was just all love and all support, and yet we would go into the lectures and we would talk about which ingredients worked and why, which we should use and why we shouldn't use them. And so that's what really, I loved about the raw food communities, the friendship and the relationships. And now it's kind of evolved into something else, but it's growing and it's evolving and it's getting better. So, of course, we all know that you have to have a blender. It doesn't matter which brand you have as long as you like it. And you want to go with the professional-grade equipment because if you get the cheaper stuff, it'll break down.
Brian, let's hold that for the next question because that answers the next question. Well, let's hold out on that for now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So, all right, for the next one then.
Okay, thank you, Brian. And let's finish up with Tina Pruitt here for some tips for easy raw food prep at home.
Thanks. And, I resonated with really what everyone was saying, Dan, Brian, some of the things that you guys said, too, with the healing aspect, because that's where I come from as well. So since you guys all have covered so much of that type of raw food prep, I figured I'd go into just real quick some juicing prep because a lot of people are not comfortable with juicing, and really it's not scary. So just a couple of things here. One is to keep your juicer out on your countertop because then you're going to use it and, in essence, create a juicing station. One of my other tips I like to use is either the bio bags that you can buy or the produce plastic bags. I don't personally use those, but if you have those, actually put those in your pulp catcher, and they help reduce some of your cleanup time. Mm-hmm. Pre-wash your produce when you get it home. I think Jenny had mentioned that, something along those lines. Bring it home from the grocery store, get it all washed up, and either put it back in your fridge in some containers or the drawers that you have. Or I like to recommend that people do go bags. So you can purchase either some plastic type containers like a Tupperware or Rubbermaid, or you can use bags if you prefer. And you actually just go ahead and make your juice ingredients and you put them in go bags. So literally in the morning you just go and grab that bag and run it through the juicer very quickly, and it saves time. Everyone's touched on this, but it's true with juicing as well. You want good recipes on hand. I recommend only doing at the most like 2 different recipes a week. That way when you go to the grocery store, you just buy the produce, and you're not trying to buy produce for every single day, a new recipe, which I think some people think you have to do that. And think about the food that you eat now. If you're not eating raw or not juicing, you don't, change your recipes every single day of the month, right? You kind of stick with what you know, and you do that. So same with the recipes, juicing. You want to just limit yourself, and that way it makes your grocery shopping easier and your prep easier. And then canning juices, canning jars, for your juices. And Dan, you had touched on this. Go ahead and make your juice for the day. Buy those canning jars, fill your juice up to the very top, and close it as tight as you can. It's an airtight container. Put it in the refrigerator or in your lunch bag, and you're going to have you're not going to have juice that's fresh right out of the juicer, but you're going to have the next best thing. And in my mind, having some green juice that's been in a canning jar, for example, for a few hours or for a day is better than having no juice at all. And then lastly, and this is where so many people get hung up, is wash your juicer immediately after you use it. I'm not kidding you. Time yourself. It is going to take you less than 2 minutes, and that's being on the high end. So put your kitchen timer out and time yourself when you're cleaning it, and then you're going to get over that obstacle that cleaning your juicer is a pain, because it actually is very simple. But do it right away, and they'll make it even easier for you.
Well, great, and thank you all for that. We're going to head back to Jenny Ross again for our next question here. And Jenny, what are some kitchen essentials you can talk about, blenders or equipment or other tools for a kitchen to stay the path, even food staples if you want?
Okay, that's a fun question, because really depending on where you're at on your path with living foods, you'll find that certain pieces of equipment are your go-tos. And like most everyone has mentioned, having a great blender is a great place to start with living foods, because no matter whether you're doing functional, healthy foods, you're doing a health cleansing, clearing regimen, or you're doing gourmet food preparations, that blender is going to be a key component to a successful experience and a fun experience, right? So I love most of the high-powered blenders that are on the marketplace right now come with great warranties, and it's really the main piece of equipment that I use and have used really throughout my entire journey in living foods. There's other fun things that I love to have around. A basic mandolin is something that's obviously, it seems so simple and it's often overlooked, but a mandolin allows you to do quick cuts like julienning on a piece of equipment that's handheld, fast, easy to wash, and your carrot sticks and celery now can have different taste, different texture, all based on that simple piece of equipment. And you can get that at any home store. OXO Good Grips is my very favorite for that. And then the third thing that I always make sure that I have in my kitchen are fresh herbs growing on the counter. And I think someone mentioned, growing some of your own or integrating your own fresh herbs into things. But I love this because it really helps me always remind myself of the living connection in the foods that we enjoy. So I have potted living herbs all over my kitchen, and I just use those. And the thing about herbs, they're easy to grow, and they just need very little light, and they will, give you all kinds of incredible juices and salads and smoothies to, really create other staples out of in your day-to-day diet.
Great. Anything to add to that, Chef B Live, on kitchen essentials?
Well, I would definitely agree with Jenny with everything she said, and a high-powered blender is crucial for a raw kitchen. And I would also say that for me, a food processor is pretty much right there, almost equal to the blender as far as prep goes, to do a bigger selection. And then to have a mandolin, of course, is great because you can save so much time with cuts and chops and different types of, just different cuts that you can get, different things you can do with it. And, of course, if you have a maculating juicer, something that can homogenize, like a Champion or a Green Star, that's great for being able to make breads. And then a dehydrator is good to have, because then you can get into, making crusts and breads and, getting even more gourmet with it, if that's what you're looking for. To have a huge array of spices and fresh herbs. And I'm sure the rest of the panel will have many more answers.
Great. How about you, Dan McDonald? Some kitchen essentials you think we should all have in our kitchen. What's working for you?
Citrus juicer, melon baller. All the rest the same as everyone else.
Great. We'll go on to Jackie and Gideon.
Yes, I agree. All the things that have been mentioned so far are necessary, I think valuable. The one thing that, if I had to give up every machine or every tool in my kitchen, the one thing I would not give up is my power blender. Because I do so many things with it. I make juice with it. You can blend up all your vegetables, put them in a nut bag, squeeze it out, and you've got juice. You can make nut pâtés. You can make nut butters. I make ice cream. I make milk. I make smoothies. And so all of these things I feel like are so valuable for the lifestyle. And it really depends on what you like to eat. If you like chips, then you're going to need a dehydrator. So we use that as a backup. But the food processor is also good. It's not just a food processor, but how you use it. We used to use a mandolin to slice and grate things, but I have found that my food processor does it extremely fast, and you can chop things up to be small, because, on a raw food diet, you're doing a lot of chewing. So the smaller you have things chopped, the less dressing you need to put on it, and the way you can flavor it up well. And so those are my tips on not just which machines, but how to use the machines.
And I just want to add that my late father-in-law said that you can do anything in life that you want if you have the right tool. So there are a lot of little tools. I'm not talking about capital equipment. I'm talking about zester and apple core and vegetable peelers and mixing spoons and cups and measuring spoons. All of these things, buy really good quality stuff and keep it around. It will keep you from wasting time. It will give you the right tool for every job. So pay attention to the little things too.
Great. How about you, Brian O?
Okay. Well, what I really love about Raw Foodists and everyone on the panel is they all have great advice. And Raw Foodists, like, we're really, really on top of things. Like, we know what's going on. So basically, a lot of Raw Foodists has a blender, a knife, a dehydrator, a sprouter, a food processor, and I wanted to go through that really quickly. So my favorite advice and tip, which not a lot of people know about, is the cord cutting board. And this is kind of new, and they're pretty inexpensive, and they're smaller and lighter. Now, most cutting boards are really thick and heavy, and they also use glues that I found that are toxic. But with the cord cutting board, it's actually eco-green. They use food-grade glue, and it's very safe, but it protects your knife. It keeps it sharper and longer. And I love my cord cutting board, so go out and get one. And they're really affordable. They're like $10, $15 at a health food store. And then with the blender, there's two kinds of blenders that most people use. It's the Vitamix and the BlendTech. And depending on which one you like, I recommend getting both if you can, but depending on which one you like, you know, those are the best. So they're high-powered and stuff. I use the BlendTech because I find that it's high-powered. It does everything I need it to. And it works like a food processor, too. Even though I have a food processor, I don't really use it that much because the BlendTech does it all. And then with the dehydrator, there's a couple of different ones from Excalibur to Good For You. And again, just depends on which one you like. There's usually a lot of controversy. People will argue back and forth which one they like. But I say whichever one you prefer, use that one. But those are the two good brands, Excalibur or Good For You dehydrators. And there's also one by TriBest that they came out with one that's pretty cool, too. And then you want to have a sprouter. And with the cutting board I already mentioned, and with the knife, I also recommend using a ceramic knife. And again, you could use any brand you like. But what I like about ceramic knives is it keeps metal and metal ions out of your food. So whenever you use metal or metal knives, it actually puts it puts metal into your food. So you're getting metal ions, metal particles, and you might not see it. And so people that have leukemia or other diseases, they really want to, Alzheimer's, they don't want metal in their food, and this is the perfect way to do it. So ceramic knives also keeps your food fresher, longer, and pure. And the whole point of raw foods is being as pure as possible. And then you want to have a sprouter so you can sprout your food. And with the food processor, you definitely want to have that because it's really helpful. With some recipes, you need to use it. And that would be my kitchen essentials right there. And having good friends and good recipes, of course, and a good time.
Great. Well, I don't know what we left for Tina Pruitt. Seems pretty comprehensive. Tina, anything to add to this list?
Well, I believe there was one thing that wasn't said. I'll get to that. But my top three is knife, blender, juicer, not necessarily in that order, but you can pretty much do whatever you need to do to get started on a raw food lifestyle with those and far beyond. You could actually, if all you had was those, you'd be fine. The other ones that everyone mentioned are great. The food processor, sprouter. Reamer is really nice to have. The good organic produce, good recipes. Definitely the cutting board. The canning jars I had mentioned before, you can use those for your nuts that you've soaked or you have dehydrated. Those are just awesome. I use them for tons of different uses. Obviously the dehydrator. And then the other one I don't think anyone mentioned, I'm not real sure, but the spiralizer to make noodles out of zucchini or different produce. Awesome, and it's a fun tool. It's not a priority, but once you've gotten all the other toys, it's a nice thing to have, and people's reaction when they see it and see how fast it works on veggies is pretty awesome too. So, but yeah, awesome tips, everybody.
Great, thank you, and thank you all for that. The next question. This is more of a personal question, and it's your own subjective opinion on it. Because the funny thing in the raw food movement, what we're learning through this event, and the leaders, and including you guys and everyone out there spreading the raw message, is the idea of 100% raw. And for a long time, some people were recommending all raw, some were recommending high raw, and it's really just fluctuated and changed. I'm just really wondering where you're all at today with the idea of being 100% raw, as opposed to what works for you? And we'll start with Jenny Ross on that one.
You know, this is the one question where I'm like, really, I got to go first on this one. You know, it's such an interesting thing because it has been so controversial over the last, 20 years, really, of conversation around this. And it's like Brian said earlier, not every diet, not every component of that diet works for every person all the time. And that I learned in my own personal exploration of this was it was really easy to be 100% raw when it was brand new. And then as I kind of transitioned into different parts of my own journey with it, there were times where that felt right, and there were times where that felt like a struggle. For me, the choice of living foods was a health choice in the beginning. And so when I started to explore the potential of doing other foods, I noticed almost right away that my health went back downhill. And so it became very easy for me to choose living foods 100% of the time or as a lifestyle, and that is what has worked for me. I get a lot of questions on this topic because I do have a son and I am pregnant now, and a lot of people don't believe or can't conceptualize having a healthy pregnancy and raising a healthy raw child and all of that. And for me, what raw foods has provided, it goes back to the science behind raw foods. So you could call it raw foods, living foods, alkaline diet, but it's this idea that disease cannot live in an alkaline environment. And that makes a lot of sense to me, and my own personal experience has supported that. So it's been very easy for me to continue that path. It's not to say that I haven't questioned it like I shared, but it's something that immediately you see the results once you have made that switch and you've had that experience. And so for me, it's been such a joy to live this way. And it has been something that, I haven't run into any health conditions as a result of it, but a big part of it has been maintaining balance. And I do meet people in the living foods lifestyle who become very extreme in one way or another, and because the balance is lacking, I think they don't always get the nutritional support their body needs. And nutrition is a science. Our bodies work a certain way. They need certain, healthy fats, fibers, all different types of vitamins and minerals to stay healthy and strong. And you can become imbalanced on any diet. So for me, I found that raw foods has always provided me, or living foods has always provided me a basis for fantastic health. So it's been very easy to keep that as the center of my lifestyle. Does that make sense?
Great answer. Thank you. And what about you, Chef B Live? The question is, do you feel we need to be 100% raw? What works for you? What are you feeling these days?
Well, for myself, I do eat high raw. I've done 100% where I'm not eating anything that is not 100% raw. And I would say that at those times when I've done that, my health might have been a little bit better than it is when I'm eating like 98.6 raw, when I'm adding some, spices that aren't raw, when I'm adding some ingredients that aren't raw to my raw recipes. I don't find much of a difference per se in my individual health. And once again, it comes down to the person, because we are all different. And for me, I would say that I can veer off it a tiny bit, and then I don't get so dogmatic. I don't get so judgmental. When I do go 100% raw, then I definitely get into the space of that, hey, this is the way. This is the only way. And I don't like that feeling. I like feeling like acceptance. I'm a compassionate person. I love to really be able to share what I'm doing with others. And if I feel like that what I'm doing is the only way, then I can't optimally share that in a way that's really going to inspire others. What I've found with what I'm doing, my audience and the people that I come in contact with are predominantly not people who are into raw foods. They're not people who have even heard of raw foods, even though they're people who you would have thought have. They're not the majority of people who have serious ailments like Dan and people who are really working on helping people detox. They're mostly your average person. And so at this point, where I see it, at being, as far as what I'm sharing and what I'm doing, is that I'm promoting it to the masses, to people. And of course, we have an epidemic of probably the worst ever as far as degenerative diseases and all these ailments and problems go in the world, and specifically in the U.S. And all of those people need to be doing a more detox diet, like super alkalizing diet. But then again, right now, I think that it's through the taste buds, whereas raw foods has become more popular and people are finding out more and more about it, that your average person needs to enter into it with a satisfying, really amazing, flavorful meal, because a lot of them won't even eat it after one time if they've had a bad experience. And I've seen it happen time and time again. And I've seen people who've tried it. Well, I tried it 5 or 10 years ago, but I hate raw foods. I'm like, okay, well, here, and they stick a fork in their mouth with something on it, and they're like, oh my God, what is that? Well, it's raw foods, you know. So I think it's just really about like just turning on people in the way that they need, because people who have serious ailments and who are dealing with serious issues need to come at it in a super detoxifying way. But even if we're using agave, even if we're using namashoyo, even if we're using spices that are not raw, let's face it, like if we're using a low percentage of these ingredients in our raw living meals, recipes that we're sharing with others, it's still a heck of a lot better than 98% of what everyone's eating out there, just straight up. Like we're like providing this amazing opportunity for people to enter into the doorway of this raw living lifestyle and find their own way. We're activating that. That's what I see myself doing. And then they'll find what they need. If they have serious ailments, they'll find Dan. They'll find, the Juice Man. They'll find Lou Corona. They'll find these like, amazing mentors of mine who can share like a super optimal, super intense, like detoxifying way and lifestyle. They'll find the information that they need. So I just like am so grateful to be able to share that and do that through my gifts that I've been given.
Great, thank you for that. Great answers here. How about you, Dan McDonald? Do you think we need to be 100% raw? What's working for you?
Well, I'm pretty extreme myself. Had some issues past, and for 11 years now, I've been using raw foods as a tool to help to heal and regenerate myself. And I have not achieved the results that I've desired. So it depends on the context. I'm trying to open my mind more, but I really don't get a charge out of what anyone eats. I don't care if people eat animals, pizza, or what other people eat. I have absolutely zero interest in. But when people call me for a consultation, it's generally like Brian was saying. I mean, 95% of the people that contact me are, from bulimia to, cancer, and people that have just been in pain for so long. So what I do is I generally espout the, I want to get results type person. I'm like, I'm in this to win this, so let's get on board with what's going to help. So I'm always, screaming from the rooftops about fresh, whole, organic, tree-ripened fruit, and then the leafy green herbs to heal. And if I just keep yelling that out over and over again, everybody's going to veer off, and they're going to go have the cashew cheesecake when they need to, of course, and then they're going to go to the raw food restaurant and have a little pizza, of course. But I'm just going to keep on guiding those people back that have had chronic inflammation, which, of course, is obviously an overeating, metabolic waste buildup in the body, is really the disease. And then, of course, it manifests itself as a clog of your kidneys. You get adrenal weakness, then you get MS. Or do you eat too many carbohydrates and you're not digesting well enough, and then it ends up as skin disorders? It depends on a lot of different things. But as far as what I do, which is tissue regeneration, I am always going to remind people that fruit vibrates the highest. So if you've got neurological dysfunction, kidney weakness, you're going to want to get the fruit right off the tree in season, because we see with in neurological patients, quadriplegics, paraplegics, when we feed them the fruit, they begin to get mobility back. They begin to be able to sort of maybe feed themselves or even move themselves in their own wheelchair. As soon as we bring in the vegetables, we'll notice that mobility goes down. We bring in the vegetables to try to help put on a little bit of weight for the aminos. Well, the vegetables don't quite vibrate as high as the fruit, so we'll lose a little bit of the mobility and the nerve function. So what I'm trying to do basically is extreme, and that is to get the blood as clean as possible, and then get the lymph flowing as good as possible, and then enhance the nervous system function at the highest level possible as well, so that the body has the energy to heal itself, to regenerate inflamed, sclerotic, painful tissue by the removal of the metabolic waste and the enhancement of the function of every cell. So for the enhancement of every single cell, 100% raw food is a really great way to go. Fruits and green juices, 100%. Learn that discipline, learn to temper the senses. Of course, like some of the other speakers here were sharing, no one can go on fruits and greens forever, you know what I'm saying? But you're in that state of really needing to get well. 100% raw is great, but there are times when people are so toxic that we need to bring in some of the steamed vegetables, a baked yam, or something to slow down the detox, because if you get stressed out in the process of detox, then you're going to it's going to be counterintuitive. So it's a hit it hard, back off kind of thing a little bit, hit it hard again. It's an art, the art of healing. And there are definitely times when 100% raw is very, very beneficial. And I will probably continue to help people to regenerate tissues, detox. And so I will always lean more towards the raw food, but I have no problem with any food whatsoever. I do eat cooked food every once in a while, some corn, or, I'll have some beans on a salad, maybe 98%. I try to avoid nuts and seeds right now because I'm continually trying to enhance the function of my nervous system. As everybody knows, I did a lot of things in my past, and I'm very lucky to be alive. So I will continue to regenerate myself with 100% raw food.
Thank you, Dan. How about we can go over to Jackie and Gideon for the same question here about the topic of 100% raw. What works for you?
Well, when we started 16 years ago, we went 100% raw. And we were 100% raw for many years, turned off a lot of people. We healed our bodies, but, we had difficulty with social life. Many times our family would get together and go out to eat, and they wouldn't even tell us, So it really alienates you when you're 100% and you wouldn't put a morsel of cooked food in your mouth. About 5 or 6 years ago, we because we teach at Hallelujah Acres and they do an 80-20, we would occasionally go to a place that sells salads, and we'd say, well, we're having a Hallelujah night tonight, and we would maybe have the vegan soup. So once we started doing this, I realized that, when we go over to my daughter's and she's got some, cooked edamame or maybe a baked potato, this really makes us more socially acceptable. All of a sudden we're humans, and we didn't used to be for a while. And I think we don't intend to eat cooked food on a daily basis, but we will occasionally eat. Now, the one rule we have is we always stay vegan, and we don't eat anything that will harm us. And so we would stay away from sugar and stuff like that. But I think just easing up on that, even though we may go a week or two without eating anything cooked, just being able to back off on that a little bit has been helpful as far as, socializing with your family. And, of course, in the beginning I wouldn't have allowed them to bring anything cooked into the house. Well, I backed off on that because, they have the right to eat for holidays. They have the right to eat anything they want to eat. So I make a bunch of raw dishes, and they bring some cooked dishes, and it really has made things a lot better as far as working with your family, friends, and stuff like that. Now, I do believe that for people that have diseases, they have to be 100% raw. They have to get well. You can't just go part way. And the other thing is you have to be very careful with this eating cooked food, because cooked food's addictive. And there have been times when we have found ourselves eating, cooked food one day, and then the next day maybe we ate a little more cooked food, and then all of a sudden I said, hey, we need to back off and get back. So we'll get back on raw 100% for a while, and because it is very addictive, and it's a tricky little thing to do when you're adding in some cooked food. You just have to be very careful that you don't get drawn. I know some people that have been 100% for years, started eating cooked food and never went back. And that's so sad, because they got all the diseases that they were able to get rid of. And it's, food's important. Food is the one thing that we can't do without. People quit smoking, but you can't give up eating. And just as long as we try to keep the raw choices very good, and we eliminate all those raw items that are cooked and aren't good for us. I do not believe that any of the cooked sugars like maple syrup and agave nectar they're just as bad as white sugar, because they're actually cooked, and anytime you cook a sugar, you caramelize it and you make it it's very inflammatory for the body. So that's my ideas.
And all I have to say here is that I totally agree with Jackie. So.
He's a smart man.
Great. I think everyone on the line resonates with everything you're all saying, and, this raw movement is just evolving. How about you, Brian O?
Okay, this is actually one of my favorite subjects because it's pretty involved, but there's a few things I wanted to say, and that is I always have to go back to, seeking expert advice, which is Gabriel Cousens, MD. Now, he's been practicing raw food medicine for over 20 years. He himself is 100% raw, but he does not recommend being 100% raw. Through his scientific, medical, and spiritual research and best-selling raw books, he actually found out through thousands of patients that for most people, 80% raw organic, vegan, and 20% lightly organic cooked foods is the most optimal. Now, he's saying that's for most people. Now, the thing is, I want to say that depending on your goals and what you're trying to accomplish, 100% raw might work for you, but it might not. Now, if you're trying to heal diseases, and I really applaud Dan McDonald for what he's doing. He's trying to regenerate himself, and I think that's awesome that he's on that path. And 100% raw should work and could work for him and for other people. Now, if you're not trying to regenerate or trying to heal yourself from things, it might not be for you or necessary for you, but if you are trying to heal, then you should try to look into that and talk to Dan and talk to other people to see how it can work for you. Now, I went 100% raw for 2 years simply because I wanted to see what it would be like. I wanted to see the effects, find out for myself through experience what would happen if I went 100% raw. And for me, it was a natural progression. I already transitioned into the raw lifestyle and food. And so I was already around raw people and raw communities, and I was in an environment and situation where people were 100% raw. So I was at the Tree of Life Rejuvenation Center in Arizona with Gabriel Cousens because I read his books, and I really want to recommend both of his books, Conscious Eating and The Rainbow Green Life Food Cuisine. If you want to be a raw food expert, read both of those books by Gabriel Cousens. I guarantee you'll know everything about raw organic food, how to do it for your body type, blood type, age, like everything. He breaks it down into sugar, into carbs, into anti-radiation, into healing, spiritual, medical, everything. It will just expand your mind. So if you're 100% raw, are you 100% eating too much sugar, too much fats? So just because you're 100% raw doesn't mean you're doing it correctly. You still have to do it in a balanced, correct way. So you have to know what you're doing, and to do that, you have to, look up an expert, and Gabriel Cousens is the expert. And I based all of my recipes on his medical, scientific, and spiritual advice. So I already incorporated that into all my recipes, so they work. But anyway, the point being, I was already at the Tree of Life Rejuvenation Center with Gabriel Cousens, learning and absorbing all I could from this, master expert and bestseller and author and everything. And so everyone is 100% raw there. We're in Patagonia, Arizona. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's 14,000 feet above sea level. And we were eating 100% raw every day. And it seemed natural and normal because normally in the regular world, we're surrounded by cooked foods and junk foods. And 100% raw doesn't seem normal, even though it is. So depending on the environment and the situation and the friends that you're around, it can actually be really normal and easy. So every day we had sprouts, flax seeds, salads. He would mix it up with juices, green smoothies, but we also had gourmet foods, and then we had simple foods, but we were definitely 100% raw. And what I experienced and found out was I totally detoxed. I connected with everyone and everything. I totally felt at one with the universe. And what I discovered was everything is just love. The whole vibration and why we're here is love. And normally we're being blocked from that vibration. The world actually knocks you off. It doesn't let you experience that. And when I was 100% raw for 2 years, I told every fiber of my being, every cell, everything, I just knew that everything was love, and that's why we were here. And it was so powerful. And you can talk about it and you can think about it, but to experience it, it's beyond words. So I do recommend that people try it for as long as they can and to keep it up. But I eventually went off of the 100% raw food thing because I also found out it's not really necessary and it's kind of time-consuming and difficult. And I wasn't living at the Tree of Life Rejuvenation Center. Eventually I left and went back into the world and society and stuff. And so, according to my lifestyle, depending on the weather, the season, the times, my cravings, where I'm at in the situation, I'm usually like 80 to 85%, 90 to 95, or 95.6%. It's kind of funny to put it in percentages anyway, but my whole point is you really want to do it for the benefits, and each person's different. So you want to do raw according to how much you enjoy it, what the benefits you're getting, and don't worry about the percentages. Now, if you want to go 100% to try it, go for it, but you really don't need to. Your body, mind, and spirit will be attracted to the right amount of raw and the right percentage, and it'll fluctuate throughout the year. During the summer, you might eat more raw, and during the winter, it's cold, so you're going to eat less raw. So be realistic, enjoy it, read Conscious Eating and the Rainbow Green Life Food Cuisine because it's by Gabriel Cousens, the expert. Learn from Dan, learn from Brian, learn from Jenny, learn from Gideon, and, learn from everybody, take in everything from everyone. Figure out what's best for you and enjoy it, There's a lot more I could go into it, but you definitely want to eat a balanced, raw food diet, regardless of what percentage you're at. And every day is a learning, loving experience, so make sure you're always learning. That's what I love about raw. The past 12 years I've been doing it, every day I've learned something new. So raw does solve and prevent and cure everything, but you have to know how to do it correctly. So that's my best advice.
Great. Thank you, Brian. And finishing up the question with Tina Pruitt.
Hey, okay. Well, my goodness, that was awesome. There is some great stories here. And, that's really kind of where I come from, is that everyone's story is different. And so I've had some clients, they are stuck on this 100% raw number. And to me, that in itself is stressful. I think Dan had mentioned something like that. Having to achieve this number is really not necessary. I mean, I myself have been 100% raw for over 4 years at a clip, and just until recently, and it was at the suggestion of my integrative practitioner and my Chinese medicine practitioner, that I incorporate a little bit of some lightly steamed veggies and some mushrooms, especially the mushrooms. And so I try to get away from that 100% raw. I wish we could just kind of get rid of it totally because I don't like the percentage thing. It's easy if you're 100%, but then anything below that, it starts to get this very stressful. I'm 80. Is that good enough? I'm 90. Am I where I should be? And Brian, you hit it right on the head. It's exactly where are you in your journey and what is your raw diet consist of? Because I tell you, I know so many people that are eating a raw diet, and I call it a raw junk food diet. They're not eating good, well-balanced food and meals. They're eating a lot of junk. So that isn't good either. So just achieving that 100% raw, title is not perfection, is not necessarily healthy for everybody. So everyone is different. Enjoy the journey that you're on and experiment. I personally like to say that I'm on a plant-based, high raw, alkaline diet. And even though that's a lot of words, I mean, to me, just leave it at that and not really go into that 100% raw title that, you know, we don't get a crown and a banner across our chest that says we've achieved something. It really is how we feel. And, you know, my training comes through Hippocrates Health Institute, and, you know, raw is obviously very recommended. However, there's still room for sprouted grains, you know, some bread type products, and some different things that they recommend. And, you know, really, again, just get back to your journey. If it's a healing journey, then certainly, you know, have more of the sprouts, the greens, the fresh produce, and stay away from some of the more gourmet and the nut-based. And you know, you have to listen to your body. And I think when you get back to eating more whole, organic produce, you actually start to be more in tune with your body. I know my journey, I'm able to pinpoint specifically to tell different doctors, and you know, I'm currently in physical therapy right now. I mean, they're just in amazement how I can tell them exactly what's going on in my body, you know, what I believe is going on, where things might hurt. And they attribute it, and several of my doctors attribute my high, you know, keen awareness of my body to the fact of the way I eat. And that, you know, my level of success with my health, even with my cancer diagnosis, has been a story that's like no other, because typically when you hear someone 3 times breast cancer, it's not a success story. And so I attribute it all to the way that I eat. But again, plant-based, high raw, alkaline diet, that's my recommendation.
Well, thank you. And thank you all for being here. I mean, the time has really flown by, and everyone on the call. We have one more question for all of you, and that's going to be it. So thank you for being here. You're all extraordinary and bringing such great information to the world, so thank you. The last question really is, how can everyone on the call or anyone listening to this call at a later time, how can they get more information about you? You can share your upcoming projects, and closing with where you think the raw food world is going. Here it is, 2012. The session is 2012 and beyond. So if you can just fill in that information, that would be great. Jenny?
Thanks, Steve. So, you know, I spend most of my time here at 118 degrees in Costa Mesa, and we have a great website that has lots of great resources on it, and we're adding more all the time, and it's just 118degrees.com. Mm-hmm. My first 2 books, The Art of Raw Living Food and Raw Basics. Raw Basics, that one is really designed to be a guide on how to incorporate more raw foods into your lifestyle. And they're both available at any major bookstore, Amazon.com, or through our website. And again, our biggest focus here at 118 is just education for vibrant living. So we try to provide as many resources as possible, as well as delicious foods and meals. So if you're in our area, we offer meal programs so you can experience a whole week's worth of raw foods or detoxification diet, or even just resource for everyday dining, so you can make sure to get that basis of really good stuff in your diet. So those are the main key areas you can reach out to us at, and we have lots of great, you know, resources in your areas. We sell to Whole Foods Market in Los Angeles as well as Orange County and San Diego counties.
Great. And finally, where do you think the raw food movement's going? Here we are in 2012 and beyond.
Well, you know, it's kind of funny. 10 years ago when I opened my first cafe in L.A., we all kind of sat around, and I remember talking with several of the others on this phone call, actually, about, you know, wouldn't it be great if this idea of health was more mainstream, if more people understood it and really could grasp onto the healing benefits here. And now here we are, and it's absolutely happening in so many big and small ways. And so what I see for the future of raw foods is really this integration into lifestyles and backgrounds of all kinds, so that there is this understanding that the science of what we're doing, this alkalizing lifestyle and diet, this can be integrated into any level. And I think now We're starting to see more support from integrative health practitioners that are helping their clients make that transition. We're seeing more support from the medical community really coming out and saying, hey, there's a lot of power and truth to this, and we recommend you get connected for yourselves to this. Every day here at the restaurant, I see these incredible healing stories, and it's really amazing to see right now people taking the steps to find their own vibrant health. And so I see that that's really our future, and the more that we can be stewards of sharing in whatever large or small ways this has made a difference in our own lives, will help the next person take those steps and do what they need to do to get to where they need to be.
Great. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks.
How about you, Chef BeLive? And future projects, what do you have coming up? How our listeners on the line here in the future can get a hold of you? And your just closing thoughts on the Raw Food Movement 2012 and beyond.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for all of the panelists, such wonderful answers and such amazing information. Thank you. I learned something here. Thanks. And basically, in the next couple of days, I'll be releasing an ebook with e-videos called Going, Gone Raw. And following that, in the next 6 months, I have a book called Beauty Raw, another one called Body Raw, another one called Kids Raw, and then I'm doing a bound full-color coffee table book called Rockstar Raw. All of these already have websites attached to them, but you can start actually getting information in the first one at yourock.com. That's yourawk.com. So I'm just really excited about that. I just was invited to be in the Oscars once again, which is really cool. All the celebrities in the nominee gift bags will get my products, and so that's a really exciting current thing that's happening. As far as how I see and view the raw food movement here in 2012 and beyond, well, just like Jenny was stating, 15 years ago when there wasn't very many of us, and I remember a lot of the raw educators now that are, quite well known. There was a few of us back then, and then there was the pioneers that were around, 10, 20, 30 years prior to that. But we would look at it and we were like, wow, there's really no one doing this. And I still feel like that in a lot of ways because I do interact and I'm out there doing so much stuff with people who aren't even aware of raw foods still at this moment. But in reality, we have took it to a whole other level than where it was at 15 years ago. And we are taking it to masses. And the way I see it is we're just person by person, just completely saturating it into the people's awareness. And I'm just grateful to be one of the pioneers. And as I see it, every single person that's just now finding out about raw and starting to incorporate it into their lives a little bit, they are.
Did we lose you? I don't know what happened to Chef BeLive's phone there. I think he cut off at the end. We're going to go over to Dan McDonald now. Not sure what happened there. Dan, how our listeners on the call can get a hold of you and your projects coming up and just your thoughts on where you think the raw food movement's going.
Well, I wanted to deeply thank everyone today because, I spent about the last hour and 15 minutes just being humbled, And I just broke a 14-day water fast yesterday, and so I'm super sensitive, and I'm just thankful that every one of you today just impacted me a lot. It took me about till now to sort of, get balanced in my energy. So thank you so much for that. So the Dan McDonald YouTube guy is the life-regenerator.com is my YouTube channel where there's over 1,000 free videos regarding raw foods, tissue, spirituality, and regeneration. And then I have a website as well where I have a variety of DVDs that are available ranging from super clean weight loss and juice recipes, as well as some of the more simple gourmet, and that's at regenerateyourlife.org. And anyone that wants to can get a hold of me through there. There's an Ask Dan tab on my website. And so where do I see the raw food thing going? I actually want to get out of the whole raw food thing. And what I personally see myself doing in 2013 is just expanding the message of fruits and vegetables, really. I want to get into some schools, talk to the kids at their level, and I want to make fruits and vegetables a real food again, a viable source of food for human beings. I think that in general we've sort of forgotten that. And one of the reasons why I think I've had so much success is because I've constantly focused on making this simple for people. You know, they say, well, how do I start? What do I do? I just say, just open a banana. Oh, okay, I can do that. Eat some apples right now for breakfast today. So I'm going to continue to make fruits and vegetables cool and sexy and hip again. And I hope I do a good job. And then that's for the general public. And then for the people that get a hold of me for the privates, I'm going to continually talk about the highest levels of healing and regeneration with the fruits and the herbs. And, of course, the meditation and the breath work and the water fasting and everything that a human being needs to do to completely heal themselves to whatever level that they would choose to. So I really, really, really thank all of you very much for what you've shared with me today. It's been actually quite profound, probably more than I could express. So God bless you all.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Dan. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Peace.
I see that Chef BeLive made it back on the call. We just want to get his goodbye here. Chef BeLive, you back on?
I'm back. I was rambling there, so I don't really know where I got cut off. Sorry about that.
No worries. I think we were just concluding about where the raw food movement's going, and you were talking about some of the pioneers and how everyone's learning from each other.
Yes. Just simply put, every single person that is involved with raw living foods in any way, even if they're just picking up a book today and reading about it and starting to eat one more banana or one more salad a day, and they just are opening up to that awareness, I view them as being pioneers as much as anyone who's been involved with the raw food movement at all ever to this date, because they're going to activate their friends, their families. They're going to influence others, and who knows who that person might be. They might be the next Oprah, like with a show, sharing this with the world, like bringing what we're doing and our gifts to light even more. So I just support everybody. I'm so grateful for everyone on this panel, for what you're doing, Steve. I've learned so much today. It's been really cool. I always love, sharing information with other raw food educators, and I love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Brian Lucas, a.k.a. Chef BeLive. And let's go over to Jackie and Gideon Graff for the final question of how our listeners on the line or in the future can get a hold of you guys, your projects, and just some closing thoughts on where the raw food movement's going.
Yeah. Well, we have done so many things in the past 16 years. We started out just, first of all, healing ourselves, and then we moved on. We started having dinners, and then we did a lunch in a small health food store, and then we had a restaurant, the largest raw food restaurant that's ever been built. It was 5,000 square feet. We presently have a wholesale business. We sell to health food stores here in the Atlanta area. We have a juice business, a delivery business, and we figured out so many things in the raw food business that people were asking us, why don't you do a certification class? And they asked us over and over, and I said, we really need to, because we do know a lot. I'm a nurse. I understand the body. I do a lot of consultations. And so we do a 3-week certification class, 6 days a week. You stay in our home. We keep it limited. We pick you up at the airport so you don't have to rent a car. And we teach in this class the nutrition science. We teach over 200 recipes during that time. We also teach you how to do consultation. We teach you how to do Facebook advertising, how to decide which raw food business you want to go into. So this is really geared for the people that want to do something as a business, and there's so many things they can do, and there's really a need to have people educated well that are out there educating and helping other people. This is, I see it's just going to mushroom, and so we really need a lot of people out there teaching. Once we started doing that, then we had requests for, well, can my mother come for 1 week of that? And so I decided, well, we need home chef class. So we do several times a year we do a 1 week home chef class, and during that time we teach probably about 70, 80 recipes, and that gives people so that they're able. See, my theory is you can spend a half a day in the kitchen and make food for the entire week. You don't need to be in the kitchen every day making food. And I teach this by doing themes. This is sort of my forte is to take food that I used to eat and I make it into a raw form. And so really, and you know, I make delicious food. So if people are eating raw food, they've got to have delicious food. You can't just give them a smoothie that doesn't taste good. You can't give them a salad that doesn't taste good. And so many of the chefs or people have said today that there are a lot of recipes out there that aren't good, and it's hard to go out and buy all this stuff and make a recipe, and then it doesn't turn out good, and you think you've done something wrong, and you get turned off. So it's my goal to teach a lot of people how to make delicious raw food.
And you can go to rawfoodrevival.com, again, rawfoodrevival.com, and you have all of this information. In addition, you can also find on our website the entire collection of Jackie's recipes. She has written so far 22 different theme recipe books. They're kind of cheap job, $5 a piece, but the recipes are great, and we sell hundreds and hundreds of those, so you can take a look at those. We also have 2 DVDs and all the information about our classes. The second question is where the raw movement is going, which is a good thought. We've been into it now for 16 years, and as Jenny said earlier, it's becoming almost mainline. 16 years ago, when I was telling people I was eating raw food, they'd look at me like I came from Mars. But now when you tell people I'm on a raw vegan diet, they kind of know what you're talking about. And more people want to know what you're doing. They realize that almost everything else doesn't work, which it doesn't. So I can see this movement going forward in a big way, and this is why we really need to train a lot of people that can be a resort in a community, teach, consult, educate, demonstrate. There's so much work to be done, and, you know, we really like to help people get there. And thank you, Steve, for what you're doing. You're a great help to the movement.
Yeah, thank you, Steve.
And everybody on the panel, you're great guys. I love you.
Yeah, what a great panel. Thank you, Gideon and Jackie Graff. Thank you for being here and taking the time. Going over to Brian O right now with the final question of the day. Your future projects here, how our listeners on the line get a hold of you, and where you think the raw food movement's going, Brian.
Okay, awesome. Well, Stephen, I definitely want to thank you for what you've been doing all these years. I'm so proud of what you're doing, and you're empowering people, and it's very noble and honorable, and I'm so proud of everyone in the raw community and this panel, because we've been working so hard to make it, you know, what it is today. We worked hard every day to make it a raw scene, a movement, an industry. And for myself, I've been working hard to make it mainstream, because stories like with Dan McDonald and other people, whenever I hear a healing, successful story with raw food, it's just confirmation for me that I'm on the right path and that I'm promoting what's righteous and what really resonates with me, what I'm passionate about. It's what I believe in. I believe raw foods is the most wonderful, amazing thing in the world. It's the most pure thing, the loving and healing thing, and it's non-polluting. I mean, other products are toxic, processed, polluting. Even if they say they're organic and healthy, they just aren't quite as healthy as raw organic foods. And besides that, I'm just grateful for everything I've learned and all the people I've met. I've met most people on the panel, and the ones that I haven't, I hope I get to meet you. So I've learned a lot today also and every day. And more about what I do is I have an EcoChef app for the iPhone. And as you can see, I've worked really hard to make raw as mainstream and accessible as I can. So if you have an iPhone or iPad, you get my $2 EcoChef app. It has all my recipes, videos, and information. I update it every day and every week, and it's only $2, and it was number 4 on iTunes. And only 10 chefs in the world has an app, so it's kind of mainstream. And you can see Raw moving that way. And then I just won the Best Vegetarian Cookbook Award in the U.S. for a raw organic recipe book. That's a huge victory and huge good news. And it's not so much an award for myself, but it's for everybody. Everyone that's in the raw food movement, in the industry, who's been promoting it, loving it, enjoying it. This award is really for you because it's our collective mission and dream to make raw accessible, mainstream for everyone to enjoy. I mean, we love it, we embraced it, and we want everyone else to also, and that's what I've been trying to do. And in 2012, it's finally happening. So I'm really happy to report that. So you can get my Raw Star recipe book on Amazon.com or everywhere books are sold. My main website's down now because it's under construction to reflect the awards and all the stuff I'm doing. But if you Google or YouTube my name, Brian O, it says Brian with a Y, and A is my last name, you can see my videos, information, expos, events, a lot of things I'm doing. And as a result, I've also opened a few doors into acting and dancing. I'm in a couple of music videos, TV shows, and movies. So I'm trying to open doors for people and more opportunities. So we're in the kitchen, we're out of the kitchen, we're on TV, we're in the media. So the thing is, in our society, you have to be in the media for something to be mainstream and popular. So I'm reaching out to the mainstream people that have no clue what GMO foods is, organic foods is, let alone what raw foods is. But if they see me in a music video or TV show or movie, they'll look me up and find out about it. And a lot of celebrities do that, from Elisa Silverstone, Woody Harrelson. So becoming a person in the media helps to spread the news and to expand the scene further. So I'm in Avicii's new Levels music video. It got 10 million views on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and put Avicii Levels, you'll see me acting and dancing in it. And then people go to my YouTube and they say, wow, he's a chef and he's raw foods. This is interesting. It gets them into it. And then I'm also in a Discovery Channel TV show that'll be on the Discovery Channel in May of 2012. And you'll see me in a lot of TV shows and movies. And so I hope to open opportunities for other raw chefs and people so that they could do the same thing and expand their repertoire and, their career and different talents and abilities. But the whole thing with raw foods is it connects you directly with your gifts, talents, and abilities so that you can expand, get that energy and the strength to share the news with other people. And that's what we're doing. And raw foods basically is just adding more fresh, whole, organic, pure fruits and vegetables with some nuts and seeds into your diet. And that's what we're doing. We're making it into a fun way. That's all that it is. It just happens to be called raw foods. Now, I actually created a lot of recipes that don't have nuts or seeds in it on purpose. And all my recipes are 5 or 10 minutes. So my whole intention was to combine junk food, comfort foods, fast foods with the best in raw foods to make it the most healing, balanced, and enjoyable so that it keeps people on the raw. It makes it fun, enjoyable, gets new people into it. But go simple, go gourmet, mix it up, have a salad, do the green smoothies. Learn from everyone from the panel. Check out their products and books and videos. Learn from everybody else. Go online, check it out. Figure out what's best for you, but definitely read Conscious Eating and The Green Live Food Cuisine by Gabriel Cousens. If you read those two books, you'll be an expert and have a solid base, and then go from there and learn from everybody else. And where I see raw going is definitely going mainstream. I see it going to, grocery stores. You'll walk in a Ralph's or Vaughn's or Safeway, and there's raw food, whereas right now there isn't. And I'm working on several projects to make that happen, but I definitely see raw going mainstream, being as popular as Atkins, South Beach Diet, or those other diets. I always believe raw should be as popular, if not more, because it really works, and it's proven to be so. So a lot of athletes and celebrities are finally admitting and revealing that raw works for them. Like recently, Venus Williams and Serena Williams just admitted that it's helping them cure their diseases. And this is huge news and in the headlines. And more every day, celebrities and athletes, top athletes in the world are admitting this. And that's what it takes in our society to have something go mainstream, is having celebrities, athletes, but everyone, announcing to the world their successes. So that's where I see raw going, is being mainstream, everyone loving it, enjoying it, and knowing about it.
Great. Thank you, Brian. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And finally, we're finishing up here with Tina Pruitt. Tina, how our listeners can get a hold of you and where you think the raw food movement's going.
Hey, Stephen. First, I just want to say thank you and thank everyone on the panel. and a lot of people have said this, one thing I just find that's very fascinating to me is that whenever you get raw food leaders together, because of the love and the openness that we all seem to have, it's always a learning experience, and it's truly a gift. And I am honored and humbled to be here today with everyone and to be on this panel and to be sharing with everyone. So first I wanted to say thanks. How to get a hold of me, you can go to my website at tinapruitt.com. That's P-R-U-I-T-T. On Facebook, I'm Green Juice Coach. That's Green Juice Coach. And on Twitter, I'm Tina Pruitt. On my website, go ahead and sign up for the newsletter. I do send out a very short, I don't get crazy with it, very short, I call it an e-zine, so you might get a recipe, or basically it gives you a tip to do that week, to perform that week. And it could be maybe a spice to try to get into your regimen, or it could be maybe a mindset. So it kind of varies. It's a green, healthy lifestyle type tip. And of course, since juicing is one of my main focuses, I do have green juice recipes and do talk about that frequently as well. But be sure to sign up for that mailing list because you'll get all the good stuff on that. And on my shop page, I do have my book, the Juice Yourself Healthy book, which I am. It should be published this year, actually, in a book form. So that's pretty exciting. And I do have Karen Noller had interviewed me on health and healing with living foods, so that's an awesome little package that's available there. And then I do have an online course called the Juicing Experience, and it's basically it's an exclusive members area, and once you purchase it, you get instant access to it, and there's videos there and downloads. The book is part of that, so it's a great way to overcome that fear of juicing right from the comfort of your own home, and there's no set calls that you have to be on. It's actually just very accessible that way. So I'm very easy to get a hold of, and I also do coaching sessions, so that's available too when you go to the website. And where the raw movement is going, it's interesting that Brian had just talked about Venus and Serena Williams, because I just heard this in the last week. And I thought that is so exciting because I've actually been gluten intolerant for over a decade. And back when I first found that out, gluten-free was, first of all, it was very foreign. No one knew what it was. Finding it in the grocery store was very difficult. You had to order most things online. And the food was, quite frankly, pretty terrible at the time. But now gluten-free is on the menu of so many restaurants. I mean, just regular chain establishments that you can walk in and you'll see a GF on the menu. So I look at the raw movement as following those footsteps. So now that we have these people, these prominent celebrities and people in the news coming out and saying these things, the plant-based way of eating, I think, is just going to get more and more attention, and we're going to see some little neat symbol on menus as well in the future, in the near future, for raw vegan foods. And I think we're going to have our play day. I think us raw vegan, plant-based, high raw, alkaline diet people are going to be very happy, and I think that's going to happen very soon.
Well, thank you, and thank you all for joining us. I just got a note from Chef B Live. His website is actually YouRawk at YOURAWK.TV. So just take note of that. I want to thank you all for being here. My panelists, Jenny Ross, Chef B Live, Dan McDonald, Jackie and Gideon Graff, Brian O., and Tina Pruitt for this fantastic, eye-opening panel and just a taste of what's to come in our Rawpalooza Raw Food World Summit. So I'll see you all Monday morning at 8:30 a.m. for our welcome and introduction session. Thank you for being here, and again, I'll see you on Monday.